Chris is the winner of the season. And I listened to you and Hannah last night on the Know-It-Alls. In the light of day, Stephen, how are we feeling? Do you feel dirty at all about a person who was voted out on day 9 coming back in the game on day, was it 36 or 37?
35,
36.
actually, he comes back.
I thought that was the point of contention between Gavin and Victoria, how many days they were together for, 35 or 36.
Well, so Chris definitely comes back on day 35.
He comes back day 35, and then Victoria's voted out on 36. Is that right?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's right.
And so, 13 days in the game, but what a 13 days.
Well, it's true. And
really, what a 4 days, but then
yeah. The first 2 days he was so like unremarkable. It was funny because like Chris had
Steven, oh my God. Tell me this wasn't destiny. What was the final vote count at the final tribal council?
It was
9-4.
9-4.
Which was exactly the amount of days.
Wow, that's
that Chris
crazy.
Underwood, we should have known all along. It was meant to be.
Chris actually was 8-5. So it's a little bit off.
Okay.
Yeah. Well. He was voted out on day 8. But it is funny that in those first 8 days, he was like, he kind of had this like, I'm playing the middle thing. He didn't really have that much of an impact on the strategy at Manu, and he was voted off like shockingly early. Like he was such like a non-entity that people were making jokes about him and Eric being basically the same person. And then he comes back and he's got so much charisma. He has so much drive. And it kind of reminded me of when Devins came back with so much what?
Drip.
Yeah. Where he was just like supercharged by this second opportunity. If you had told me, I mean, we'd sort of joked about what if someone comes back, wouldn't that be a total mess? Like we'd sort of joked about that. I was more okay with it. Now, listen, I really thought Gavin should have won. I was more okay with Chris than I expected to be. And I'm kind of delighted with the whole season. And it's a very, very contentious. So I want to hear your thoughts.
To me, it was such an unexpected outcome that the spectacle of it thrilled me, where I love to be surprised, but I think that this is going to be a thing that we're going to have to wrestle with. Was Chris the best player? No, he was not. And so how do we sort of like, we got the thrill of the surprise, but the best person didn't win. And I think that this is something that goes on in I know what a big sports fan you are, but we make it crazier that more teams can be involved, and the team that had the best regular season doesn't win, but it's exciting. It's not, you can't predict from the start of the season who's going to win. So I think where Survivor is wrestling with that, what's unpredictability versus predictability, and then also something that we talked about a lot with Christian, but the entropy of it all, of like how great is it to have all that randomness injected in there, and what does that do to the season as a whole? Where, as you said, we spent so much time talking about every move that was made, and most of it was for naught.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I do want to say, though, is for people, I think a lot of people, this is an incredibly divisive moment. I think a lot of people loved Chris's win. Probably many more people, certainly and those that are tweeting at me, feel this is like a grave injustice. It's not necessarily like this is Survivor, the show going off the rails. Like literally last season was one of the best, kind of more classic seasons that the show's ever had. And granted, there were a lot of like advantages and idols in last season, but it was it was a much more socially strategic season than this season was. You're right. There's some variability, and like twists create that variability. Casts create the variability. When you have someone like Devins, who's the number one target and yet has, like this like bloodhound sense for idols, that creates variability. So, I don't think this is like the end of the show, right? Because like literally last season,
definitely not.
Yeah, definitely not a top 5 season.